Hi, Miranda, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I'm the education manager from the Cape Ann Museum, so I'm excited to join you all.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and start. Let me read my spiel. This meeting is being, welcome to the Human Rights Commission remote meeting. This meeting is being recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 25 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to all the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. Additionally, all votes taken by the Gloucester Human Rights Commission during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. All members of the commission should turn on their video if possible when voting so that their faces can be seen. If voting by video, members should turn their video on when they vote. If voting by phone, members must first identify themselves. No voting by text or in any other manner, only by video or verbally by phone. Members of the public who speak at the meeting must provide their name and address in order to speak on any matter that comes forward with the agenda. Okay, and then I'm just going to call to order. We have members of the commission, myself, Hannah Kimberly, Mayuza Alves, Paul Wasserman, Tony Borge, Sarah Peck, and Jennifer Beloff. And then we also have Holly Dugwillow with us and Krishna Basu. And with that, I'd like to introduce you all to Miranda Ashling, who is on the education and programming at the Cape Ann Museum. Miranda's mission is to reconnect art to daily life. And she's doing this by developing programs for the museum, including a new virtual lecture series. She is a practicing artist and a community organizer, and we are excited to hear what she has to say about the new gallery talks and other exciting programming.
Excuse me, before we start, just a point of order. On your roll call, did you include Jen Holmgren on that?
I didn't. Sorry, Jen. Thank you so much, Paul.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. I was so focused on what was happening. I didn't. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, Miranda.
Oh, sorry. I think we also have to approve the minutes.
Oh,
first.
what's wrong with me?
Well, I got the agenda. That's
I just walked in from high school, y'all. It's the first day back after spring break. Okay, sorry about that. Yes. Did we get the chance to see the minutes? Great. Can we, can someone
I move that we accept the minutes as written and presented.
Great.
I'll second.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, now Miranda.
All right, just interrupt for one more moment. I believe, do we need to do a roll call on the minutes, Councilor Holmgren?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. What's wrong with me?
Hey, it's okay.
we all.
I blame the high school.
They were lovely.
Spring fever.
They were delightful today. Okay, Mayuza. Yes on the minutes for roll call? Okay, Paul?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And Nikki, there you are. Hi.
Oh,
yeah.
hi, Nikki.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Great.
Yes.
I promise you now, Miranda.
That's all right. I'm happy to wait a minute if there's anything else. But I also understand it's springtime, and I don't know about all of you, but my brain is outside with the sun at the moment. So, but I'm really happy to join you. I was happy to hear that this group exists and to have met some of you in advance and heard of some of you in your work. I am new to the Cape Ann Museum. I've been there since December, and I am also new to Cape Ann itself. I've been in the region for a year now. but I did come to Manship Artist Retreat and Studios as a resident artist in 2019. So I spent a summer there, and that was kind of my first introduction. And before I was at the museum, I ran a nonprofit called Miranda's Hearth, which I founded, which was working on building affordable creative studio space for artists. And we put in a proposal, excuse me, to repurpose the Briscoe Middle School in Beverly as a community art center. So that's a little bit of my background, but I'm learning about Cape Ann by leaps and bounds, both as a resident and as a programmer. And one of the things that I try and do whenever I first come into a community is learn about who makes up that community, both currently and historically, how that's changing. And, you know, that there's, as I'm sure you guys are aware on this commission, there's that can be very joyful and very painful depending on the history of the place, and it's often both. So what I'm trying to do at the Cape Ann Museum is, first of all, start some programming that can happen while we're still mostly remote. So you may know that the museum shut down from March until September, and all the staff was still working, but the museum itself was closed last year. And then starting in September, we were open based on whatever occupancy the state has allowed right at that moment. And I think the museum director has actually chosen to stay more conservative than what the state is allowing. I think right now we're at like 7% occupancy, just to make sure it's a really safe space for people to go. But that being said, the museum is currently open Thursday through Sunday. So if you guys are looking for a time to get out of the house, it's open from 10 to 3. My first initiative was to start a virtual lecture series, and just based on timing, our first virtual lecture series was in January, and then we launched directly into Black History Month and Women's History Month. So I wanted to make sure we addressed those topics. So we started with building an exhibition in a pandemic in January, just to talk about last year and what happened and how the museum navigated that. And then we had 2 incredible speakers in February for African Americans in Essex County. So there were 2 women, Dr. Cabria Baumgartner and Dr. Elizabeth Duclos Orsello, who wrote a report for the National Park Service, actually commissioned them to write this report, doing a historical survey of African Americans in Essex County. And that report is finished now and being sent to all of the archival organizations that provided material for it, including the Cape Ann Museum. So that's recorded. I don't have the link on hand, but I'm happy to follow it up. It was really informative, if I do say so myself. I mean, it wasn't my research, so I was just very glad to provide a platform and a place for people to engage. We had over 240 people sign up for it. So it just showed that there was a lot of interest at the museum for that kind of storytelling and for that kind of historical analysis of a marginalized community. And so I'm hoping that we can do more of that, and we can explore more of the communities in Cape Ann, both as I continue my personal education and as the museum continues to explore the stories that it tells and how it tells them and why it tells them and who gets to tell them. I think the museum is working on asking those questions and has been internally asking them for a long time. So it's really interesting for me to come in, and I hesitate too far to speak for all of my colleagues who've been doing wonderful work for many, many years, as I'm standing here at, I think, 3 months. But programmatically, I'm excited to hopefully work with some of you all. We're in conversations about what the museum will do for Pride Month in June, what the museum will do potentially for Juneteenth, if not this year, then the following year, because I want to make sure that we acknowledge all of these important holidays and remembrance months, but that we don't just do it out of feeling like we should, that we do it out of the proper partnerships and the proper historical research. So I'm kind of setting the groundwork there and trying to figure out where to go next. We're in conversations about what to do for Indigenous Peoples Day in October. So I kind of plant all of those seeds. I, as a community organizer, come from a fairly non-traditional museum background. So this is how I like to work. I like to meet people and plant ideas and then just see what grows based on the community's interest, based on what's already happening, where we can support, and maybe where we can lead some new initiatives.
That sounds great. It's exciting programming.
Thank
Mm,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a joy to work on.
Yeah, I attended the African Americans in Essex County, and it was just phenomenal. It was just incredible, you know, I mean, and it's the kind of course, history that, you know, we need to have, you know, available and needs to be spoken, all those voices and recognized. And so phenomenal job.
Oh, thank you. Well, I cannot take any credit for that work, but I was very excited to be able to provide them a platform.
Yeah, definitely send the link if you will.
I will, for sure.
I will use that in my classes, my history classes.
Yeah, and Dr. Cabria Baumgartner is also doing a talk with Essex Heritage. They're doing a series. Beth Berenger is leading a group there on teaching hidden histories, I think is what they're calling it, which some of you may have attended. So she's doing a talk, I think this Saturday, because the week has just turned. So something else to keep an eye out for.
Oh, great. And will that be on the museum website?
That's not ours. That's Essex Heritage.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, I'm excited to be attending that as a local practitioner. But yeah, that's happening through them.
Great, wonderful. Do we have any questions for Miranda?
Hey, I just wanted to mention, maybe it's repetitive, but the event for recognizing the victims of the COVID pandemic was just superb. It was it was just wonderful. It was well put together, very moving, and I think it was something the community really needed to have happen.
Thank you. It was an honor to coordinate that, and a heavy way to meet the community, but it's a heavy time. So I think it was necessary.
Jen?
Miranda, I also want to thank you for being so proactive and for initiating all of these necessary conversations. So I don't have any questions, but I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, if there are no questions, I think my email hopefully can be shared, or I'm happy to put it in the chat. I believe that just putting a face to a name means that hopefully if you're sitting around a table and you think, oh, it would be really great to have a museum on board for something like this, that you can reach out to me. And so this doesn't necessarily have to be an immediate brainstorm session, but just great to get on everyone's radar.
Great, and I will send everyone your email.
Yes, wonderful.
Okay,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All righty.
Hannah, can I just mention that we have 2 attendees?
Yes,
If you could
please. Yes.
just repeat the, how they, if they wish to raise the hand. I don't know
Sure.
the procedure.
Hi, if you are in attendance now, if you're calling on phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. And if you're watching on a computer or device, there's a raise hand button that's probably at the bottom of your panel that you can press or tap to request to speak. And then Holly will call on you to let you speak. So that's just to let you know. But please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. Thank you for that, Holly.
Thank you.
All righty. Miranda, you're welcome to stay, but we are not forcing you to stay.
Thank you. I will happily eavesdrop for a little bit, but I'll probably dip out before the end. So
Sure, okay.
thank you for letting me be part of it.
Yes, sure. The next thing on our agenda is the translation services. I wrote a draft for a pilot that I sent out to everyone. Do you all have that in front of you? You do. Okay, great. So if you notice in the draft, the original thing we were looking at was like, I think $80. And this one's now $2.99. So I went shopping essentially, but it is much, much better.
Yeah.
So it seems it would serve our purposes better. Are there any thoughts on this draft letter? Anything that you might want me to
I thought the
add?
draft was very good. And it's,
Okay, thanks.
I mean, a
Yeah.
great starting point to see where we can get with that.
Okay. Any other ideas on that?
No, I think it's great. It's really, having us keep moving along in regards to looking at, all the work we're doing, to ensure that we're providing, translation services. And this is a great first step. And I was really impressed in the number of languages that little machine has.
I know, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Okay, I will go ahead and send this off to the mayor. And we will see where we get.
Hannah, can you copy me on that also when you send it to the mayor so I can keep track of it for you?
I sure can. Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, Holly. Okay, so that's done. We now,
I wonder if the commission should formally vote on it going forward. I'm not sure if, if
I
you have
don't
a
know.
thought, Councilor Holmgren.
You know what? Yes, Attorney Basu, thank you. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Commissions do vote on recommendations to the mayor or to the city council. So yes, thank you.
Great.
That's a great
Okay,
point.
so we'll take a roll call vote. Mayuza,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
and Paul.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes as well. Thank you for that. Okay, and I will send that to both Holly and Krishna. Okay. All right, our next thing, and Krishna, maybe you can help us with this, is our discussion and vote on the subcommittee's minutes findings on the intake process being postponed. Krishna?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So, and Councilor Holmgren, feel free to jump in on this. So what I did was I took a look at the ordinance, because as you all probably remember, the Human Rights Commission had been sort of dormant, I guess, for a short period, and it was reactivated in April of 2019, I believe. And so what I did was I went back to that ordinance that reactivated the commission. And what I noticed in looking at that is that in the powers and duties section, originally the Human Rights Commission had been a commission that heard complaints of discrimination. And that language was actually taken out when the commission was kind of reinvigorated in 2019. And so from looking at that, it seems that when you look at the purposes of the Human Rights Commission, that maybe isn't what the intent was of the commission, and that it should be, some of the things that the commission has already been doing, which is, educational, letting the public know of different resources, like the program that we heard about tonight, the programs at the museum, having things like action on the website, the translation device, just to name a few of the things that that the commission has already done. And so what I'm thinking is that the intake form, and we've talked about this at the commission before, about the problems and the issues of having it be confidential, where this is a public body. We wouldn't want to have people come forward and file a complaint and not be able to keep it confidential, or have people think that the commission is an organization that could grant them some kind of relief, like the MCAD or a court, which the commission isn't. And so that was sort of my thoughts, is that perhaps the language may need to be clarified, because in the purpose section, it does mention, mediation. And I think that maybe was kind of an oversight, because it doesn't go along with the powers and duties section. I don't know if you had anything to add on that, Counselor Holmgren?
I do. In conferring with you, Attorney Basu, I realized I was thinking about this with my nurse's brain, in terms of keeping things really, really confidential. I mean, the last thing I would want is for somebody in the Asian community in Gloucester, for example, to come to us with a concern via email, and then to have anybody, literally anybody in the world do a public record request and have that email on the public record for all time. I mean, I know that sounds like kind of an extreme example, but I don't want our good intentions to inadvertently cause issues for someone else down the road. And we just don't have this commission, and the city as a whole really doesn't have the teeth that other organizations have when it comes to protecting people's rights. And I think any one of us could refer somebody to an organization outside of the commission, and people certainly have the right to, and I hope they do, feel comfortable coming to this commission with issues, but they need to know we are a public body and we're beholden to Massachusetts open meeting law. So I know that the subcommittee did a lot of work and a lot of research on form verbiage, but I do feel it's important for us to maybe focus, put our focus and energy on other things at this point. That's my perspective.
So just to, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, I'd be happy to work with Counselor Holmgren with, kind of clarifying the language in the ordinance so it's a little bit clearer, because I do think it's a little bit confusing perhaps right now.
I think that's an important piece to have that clarification just moving forward, so that it is accurate on what the ordinance, it should reflect what the commission is actually doing, or what the parameters are.
Well, I have a question then. I certainly understand that, but in some ways, like just the most recent, like event where the attack on the Asian Americans, can the Human Rights Commission, make a statement to say in support of the, our Asian American community here, and
Absolutely.
that we do not condone, and any whatever I imagine we would put the language first through you, but I think that might be something, at least if as we explore the issues about whether or not we are able to have people file complaints, but at least to know that we serve as a voice.
That sounds good. I might push a little further. I mean, I love that, and I think that's important. I think education in the community is important. But when we did like a moderate little survey of other human rights commissions, it's not that they necessarily have like the mandate to take those complaints or like, whatever forms and see them through to the very end. They act as referrals. They act as like a centralized place where they can actually refer out to other people and like, be a source of information for people who are seeking like further redress. So I do wonder if there's like a medium there, a way that people could, in theory, come to the Human Rights Commission, say that they have something that they need, even if it's just an issue that they want to talk about, and we have a series of numbers, or like a way that they can get in touch with commissioners to help direct them towards more substantive services. If we're not going to like complete the service ourselves, but even then, I think part of our education role is to take a complaint or to take some sort of knowledge that we get about the community and leverage that for education. So I do think that we should find a medium in there between having like a full-on complaint form where somebody's going on a public record to being a resource for the community, because otherwise we just are a web page without a lot of power.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I do. And this committee does have this commission has a voice, and it's very, very important to use it. And the fact that everybody here is so sensitive to what has been going on in the world and on Cape Ann, we can't overlook it, and it can't be overstated. So it is, it's about finding, I guess, at least to me, the most effective way to express our voice and to use it in the most powerful way to make the most significant impact on residents.
Yeah, and and I think it would be helpful as, if we can also serve as a conduit, he'll be able to kind of track. So we can see if there is a rise in some kind of hate crimes, or even one is unconscionable. But if we're starting to see that way also, we whatever actions that we can take in the, within the confines of the commission, and then work with the community. And because otherwise, I mean, it might be word of mouth that we hear something, that this happened, and so that, we can see what the trends are. I don't know how we would do that.
Jen, excuse me, I'd be delighted to, help, at least as someone to review the new language, that, the mission language.
Thank you. I'm wondering if, would it be possible to have the Gloucester Police Community Impact Unit come and talk with us too? Or to have us talk with them to sort of mesh in a way, or see what sort of outreach they've been doing
I think
as
that's
sort of a
really-
collaboration?
I think
Yeah,
that would
that's a
be
good
really-
idea.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they would certainly, I'm sure there are incidents that are happening have documented, and they would be able to let us know what they're seeing.
Okay.
When
I
I
can reach
know
out.
I know it's not a one-to-one, but I know with Arlington, when I talk to them, I mean, they collaborate with the Arlington Police Department, and the Arlington Police Department comes to the Arlington Human Rights Commission when they have things that they want the Human Rights Commission to like speak or publicly talk about. So that's like a natural avenue.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Jen, you said you will reach out to the Gloucester? Yes? Okay,
Yes. Yep.
great. I have a question as well in terms of posting the subcommittee notes on the website. Holly, is it fine to post those now or no?
I'm not sure, because I had asked the question when we first started whether or not the committee was up and running. If they don't have the correct number of participants, is it still a committee? I don't know the answer to that. I can find out. And that's another thing, Kimberly, just I gave you the wrong information for the minutes, because there's a liaison, because I'm the liaison, I have to post the minutes. I mean, the minutes, so you can send them to me. Agendas and minutes, yeah, we'll post ourselves.
Okay.
Okay. I'm learning too, right? I'll find out. I'm actually not even sure who to ask about the minutes. Who's actually on the committee?
I did the minutes.
You did the minutes?
Yeah,
So we had a full meeting, there was a full meeting with how many in attendance?
3 of us and Jen Holgram, correct?
And does the ordinance say how many members are supposed to be on that committee? So
I
maybe,
don't think it does.
okay,
No, it was
don't
not
you
a
forward-
quorum.
yep.
I'm sorry. It was not a quorum of the commission. We did that on purpose.
Okay.
It
So
was
why
just
don't you, Jennifer, why don't you just forward them to me, and I'll see if, I'll just find out whether or not we, it was technically, it sounds like it was a legal meeting.
We posted it too, I believe,
You
right?
did,
Ahead of time.
right?
Yeah, but-
Yeah.
yeah, I'll send them to you, Holly.
Okay, well, I'll get them on there.
Okay. Great. Thank you all. Okay, next we have Jen, who's going to talk to us about role modeling of elected officials and governing bodies.
So in the wake of the attacks on in Atlanta, I've been floundering. I know that there was a school committee member in Lowell who spoke at length about all sorts of different protected groups of people. He has resigned, and I'm hoping that he will do some reflecting on that. I'm really grateful that here in Gloucester, our elected officials are don't display those types of behaviors. And I've been trying to think about ways in which we can help as elected officials more than we have been. And I have in front of me the civility resolution that the Gloucester City Council signed in 2017. And I know Councillor Gilman has been taking a look at this to see if maybe the language should be tweaked. I'm just wondering if it's strong enough or if the City Council should maybe revisit it, considering how unfortunately contentious things continue to be for the African American community, for the Asian American and Asian community, for the LGBTQ communities, for all of these people who are vulnerable. So I guess what I'm wondering is, would you all take a look at the language in the civility resolution if I send it out and just see if it's strong enough, or if we should add something or take something away. I'd really like to work with Councillor Gimlin to bring it back to the City Council as the most current document. And if it's fine the way it is, then great. I think we should all sign it again. So
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. And again, I think it will show that, Gloucester being, like as a community and having that, even if it stays the same, but bring back out saying, this is, who we are and this is what we want. And this is our statement as a city and as a community is important.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'd be happy to, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Next on our agenda is looking at legal representation for people with low income in our communities. And Mayuza is going to talk about that. Mayuza, shall I show your website?
Yes. I have been thinking about the legal representation is one of the most expensive service for and very hard for low income families. I have done some thinking about it. If we could help provide websites that with information about the in Massachusetts with the pro bono organizations that help low income families. I did my own, I actually have been volunteer interpreting for Portuguese for this organization. It's the Right to Immigration Institute in Boston, in Wellington. I forgot. Around Boston. One of the staff there, it's a somebody that I know for 15 years, and she's was a lawyer for Boston University for 30 years, and she retired and she started to work there in September. And I spoke with them, and I spoke with this the attorney, Judy Hogan, and they are very good organization. They do pro bono work for immigration, especially DACA cases. They take almost pretty much 100% of DACA cases, domestic violence cases and immigrants, more like things like the asylum cases too. And so this is one of the things that I think we should put in we work an organization like it, try to do research and pro bono lawyers around the state. And if it's possible, not just put it the website, but kind of do a little digging like I did. I spoke with two of them about, more, like they said, it's almost like they take almost 100% of DACA cases. So if you can help people to navigate with more detailed information, like go more than what they show on the website, who to talk to, if they need a proof of income to prove they low income, if it's a page stubs or if it's a tax return or, just a letter from employer, what kind of more details. We don't need to put our websites, but some of them more, that we think would work for our community. And in the future, I'd like to see if we could talk to Action or maybe Wellspring and see if they could try to have a representation here in Gloucester. I know Jen probably knows better than me. 15 years ago, when I got divorced, I had help from Action to fill the paperwork at the beginning. So, and a few years later, I tried and there was not there for somebody else. There was not there anymore. That was really helpful, especially when you don't know your rights and you don't. I think it's $150 as far as I know, just for a consultation, if you want to pay a lawyer. So if you have a attorney to take it to the court, it's a $700, $900, $10 or $1,000 just to take it to the court to see a judge, to be there with you. And especially for divorce, when mothers, to take that money to pay. I have been helping so many people, most Brazilian, with those kind of things. I actually have one of lawyers there. I don't know if you know. I know Jen Hogan knows Ed O'Reilly. He's a very nice guy, and really one of the good around here. And he have done some pro bono, consultation for me, my friends, in traveling for them. So that's one of the things that I wish I want to suggest that we work on and to help people with the legal representation.
Does anyone know if any of the service organizations in Gloucester or on Cape Ann provide that kind of legal aid?
Currently,
I know
right-
Hawk does.
Yeah.
Hawk has an attorney, maybe one or two attorneys, actually.
And then we do a lot of work with Northeast Legal Aid.
Yeah.
And we use them frequently, and they have been terrific around providing, no cost consultations, and if they take the case, no charge. So they've done all sorts of we also have a housing lawyer on staff at Action, but we refer to Northeast Legal Aid for like everything else.
Yeah, and I don't know if people actually can go further afield, but I mean, Greater Boston Legal Sources,
Yeah.
Legal Assistance Corporation, like the centralized funder for all the legal aid services. I mean, there are actually a lot of legal aid services spread throughout the state, but I'm sure Northeast is our local.
Yeah, I was thinking more, I think the more important will be family lawyer, somebody to work with the families. And like I said, I already have the source for immigration. I think they are great. They're really good. So if you go, get the feel, to start it, and then we could be more, see what else we need. I know.
Great. Thank you, Mayuza.
Excuse me, Hannah, before we exit this, I did want to bring up, and this probably related to to number 6 on our agenda about role modeling. That was how are we best meant to respond to requests for some sort of a presentation, either as individual members, or if the request is of the Human Rights Commission, sort of as an entity, how would that be handled?
Can you give us an example, Paul?
Sure. Let's say a local house of worship would like someone from the commission to come and speak about the work that we do. That would be, just one example.
Yeah, I think then you could go do that. Yeah. Is that wrong?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
mean,
all
the-
right. That's great outreach.
Okay. Yeah, I would
Great.
think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, we would all understand that, we would, inform the members that we're doing that, and that, we understand we're speaking for the commission.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Paul. Before we go, I have a favor to ask. While I was on spring break, I got this email that said, "We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. at this Zoom meeting." And I was like, okay. But it was about the Gloucester boards, commissions, and committees sort of training. I think because we're a new commission that maybe I wasn't originally on their list, but it was spring break. So I was like, yeah, I'll set an alarm for this. So it was with the city solicitor, Chip Payson, and Ryan Knowles, the IT director, and Chris Sicaranza, who is the assistant CAO now. And so it was basically about sort of requirements, open law meeting requirements, and remote meetings during the pandemic, et cetera. But one of the things that was asked of the chairs was for us to ask if 2 members are willing to operate Zoom meetings, starting with the next meeting, instead of, for example, Holly doing it. And the idea is 2 people doing it is in case one person doesn't show up. Is anyone willing to do that?
What is it you saying? Just like do what Holly does
Yeah.
as like a backup and do the recording and whatnot?
I claim insufficient technology assets.
I mean, I can
both
try it.
mental and physical.
I mean, I can do it. It's not a
You
big
could do
deal.
it. Okay, great. Brian Knowles said that he would be reaching out about like a training thing, but I haven't heard from him. I should maybe double check to see if I'm on his list, because maybe, or that we're on his list. I don't know. Holly, did you hear anything about it, or?
I haven't heard anything. I can double check. We also have one hand raised from Hannah Krieger.
Great.
Do you want me to pop her in right now?
Sure. Do we have one more person to volunteer to do it, or I'll just do it with Jen?
Or I can,
Okay,
I
okay.
serve as a backup.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right, let me find out about that tomorrow, and I will allow Hannah to talk.
Hi, I'm Hannah Krieger. I live at 5 Rocky Pasture in Gloucester. I'm here with my partner Michael as well, and organizing with another community member around a response to Gloucester 400 and this upcoming the 400 years of colonization in Gloucester. And yeah, the 3 of us are concerned about the language that the organization is using around whitewashing Gloucester's history and centralizing the white immigrant story without the complexity of the violence towards Indigenous people and the enslavement of African Americans here, and wanted to reach out to you all to see if you're engaged with Gloucester 400 or where you're standing on this, to see, yeah, what you all are thinking about it in terms of. We're also going to reach out to Miranda. It's funny that she was here around programming, because a lot of this sounds like up her alley as well. But yeah, curious, and I can elaborate more, but just wanted to see what you all might be thinking about it first.
And I don't know if I should say what I also was curious about, I'm Michael. I was curious about what the commission's response to the increase in anti-Asian hate crimes has been, and it's really nice to hear that that's been a major topic of discussion. But I guess so now my curiosity is, how can the community support the commission in that process?
Here's an easy one, if you don't mind. Tomorrow evening, there is a public hearing on expanding the current ordinance to include more members of this commission, and specifically, we're looking for people of color and people from the LGBTQIA community. So if you're interested in calling in or zooming in to speak in favor of that change in the ordinance, I think, I mean, it's got a lot of support. I can't imagine it not passing, but that's an easy thing to do. And I will turn it back over to the commission now.
Thank you, Jen, for that. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was just saying, in regards to the 400th, when I was part of the KPM Museum webinar on the African Americans in Essex County, and somebody specifically asked that question in regards to, is someone in the 400, are they working on to ensure that that history is part of that? And if I recall, the answer said is, I thought that maybe there were people that were in the audience, but it wasn't fully clarified, but that issue is raised. So I'm not sure, you could, when you follow up with Miranda, to find out, about working with the 400th, but certainly that was brought to forth. And one of the presenters made a point to say that what is presented has to be real. It can't be that, this, as you say, it can't be, how all the wonderful things the African Americans have done or the indigenous community, but the trauma that they have gone through for 400 years is part of that. There's also, and I can't think off the top of my head, but I know that the Unitarian Church of Rockport and here in Gloucester had worked on last year, that there's been a project on looking at how Cape Ann, Gloucester's involvement in the slave trade. And I'll send that link, and that's I'm not sure if it's a link on the Cape Ann Museum website, but the research that has been done, and again, surprisingly, of even like the Unitarian Church here in Gloucester, one of the founders, and the involvement in the slave trade there. So that's another piece that also I probably think the 400th would be looking at.
Yeah, thank you. I'm aware of the research that the UU churches have done, the Cape Ann Slavery and Abolition website. Yeah, and want to reach out to them. I'm sure that other people have similar concerns to me, and so just trying to see who's organizing and who's thinking about it, and wanted to know what you all were thinking about it as well. So thank you for. I have to check out the what Miranda mentioned about the Essex heritage and what you just mentioned, Tony. So thank you.
Hannah, is this are you talking about their website, which I have just looked at for the first time? Confession.
Yeah, I am talking about their website, and yeah, I've done a good amount of research. It looks like they have it looks like there's some pretty serious money behind what they're doing. There's like a pretty big marketing campaign, and yeah, there's just a lot of I don't have the specific words for it, but just like kind of like classic telling of colonial history, that like white people struggled, and sort of like the whole myth around like Thanksgiving too. And not that that isn't true, like there has been hardship for white immigrants, but there has been larger hardship for the indigenous people and the enslavement of African people. So yeah, like I'm really curious about holding that complexity, especially in a predominantly white community of Gloucester, because a lot of like I'm white, my immigrant story has those complexities, but how do we acknowledge and take space for the whole history?
Great. Thank you
If
for
you're,
that.
if you're on the, sorry, if you're on the website, on the homepage, their mission statement has this kind of language that we're talking about.
Yeah, the Gloucester 400 mission statement has, yeah. Yeah, especially, yeah, there's sort of, yeah, this language of that. It was hard for the white people here and without acknowledgement directly of harm to Indigenous and Black people.
Okay. I'm not finding their mission statement, but I will certainly look at it in more
Yeah.
depth.
Thankfully, there's time.
And maybe we can invite someone, you know, on the you know, on the organizing committee to have a discussion with them, because again, oftentimes is, you know, people are involved and there's no thought about it, you know, and because it hasn't had a direct impact on their lives, or, you know, growing up in Gloucester here and all you're focusing on, you know, the certain particular, especially, you know, like certain things. And so the understanding, and as we are more ensuring that there's the voices of the diverse history of Kingman and Gloucester are that, but not everybody has been, you know, looking at it. So
Right. That's a
I would,
great,
I would be happy, actually, I would like to take a look at the website. And I think
Right.
before we invite anyone from there to meet with us, if, you know, Hannah, I'm sure you're looking at it, I'll look at it as well. And we can report back to the HRC, you know, at our next meeting.
right. That, yeah, I'm happy to do that. And
Yeah,
Tony,
we-
I like that idea. It's the idea of calling in instead of calling out,
yeah.
right? So, good. Hannah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Happy to
Um,
be in conversation.
I think we need Michael's last name and address for the record.
Oh, Michael LaMarche, also 5 Rocky Pasture Road in Gloucester.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else? When is the hearing tomorrow, Jen?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's at 6 p.m. And usually the public hearings are at the end of the agenda. So if you don't get to the City Council Zoom right at 6, it's okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other business for the commission? All right, yes.
Wait,
Nikki.
yeah, I keep turning to a little hand, but nothing's happening. I just had a point of clarification. Did we decide, in fact, that we are going to draft a statement in response to the killings, the recent killings of Asian women? And if so, who is doing that, and do we know what we're going to do with it? I kind of didn't get that follow up there.
Thank you, Nikki, for that. In my mind, I thought Tony was.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we
great.
just, you know, like, yeah, we just kind of nodded our heads, but yes.
Oh,
Okay.
I actually wrote in my notes that you were.
Okay. That's great.
What I'll
Okay,
do is
thank
I'll
you.
draft something up and then I'll send it to you, Hannah, and then you can send it to everyone for their feedback. And
Perfect, okay.
Okay, terrific. Thank
I
you.
probably should have told you what was in my mind, Tony. All righty, anything else? All right, shall we adjourn with a roll call?
Sorry, one more thing. When is
Yeah.
the next meeting again?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay, let me,
that'll be April.
yes,
April.
it'll be April. So the third week of April is, let's see,
Yeah, the 19th.
the 19th. Wowzers, we're into April.
Is that,
That's Patriots Day?
that
Is that Patriots Day?
is that a holiday?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe we should meet on the 26th.
Okay. April 26th it is. My calendar doesn't say Patriots Day.
Well, it's a state holiday, so, it
Right.
won't, but yeah. And no Boston Marathon run this year until October.
Right, right. All right. Our next meeting is April 26th. Thank you for that. Anything else? Wowzers, y'all. Thanks for your patience. We'll
I
roll.
will, yeah, I'd
Roll-
like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Nikki? Okay. Nikki, is that a yes?
Yes.
All righty. Mayuza,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and me, Hannah. Yes. All right. What a day. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Enjoy. Be
Bye.
well, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.